A Cat and a Butterfly by Ramiz Gi. Why is this universe so lifeless? A dot appeared on the radar for a split second. Marie held her breath, her eyes pinned on the screen. The dot didn't return. She exhaled. Just a random blip. Now it's torn with my mind. Does it hate me? She leaned back on her chair. The Romano 8580 system ended up being a waste of Marie's time. No biological science on any of the planets. No new data to scan. No specimens to collect. Nothing to fill her time in the shuttle. Computer, plot the course to... Marie paused. She started to run low on supplies, yes. But seeing people, she wasn't in the mood for it. She'd rather check one more system and be by herself just a bit longer. She opened the navigation map and her research log. To Magellania 9051. Not that far from here. She dropped to the pilot's chair and observed warping stars for a second. When the shuttle reached its maximum speed, Maria left the cabin and found her way to the cryo chamber. She approached the biosafety cabinet, took a first unprocessed batch of tissue samples, and put it forward. One sip to the nanobot bowl to grab the goo. Computer, scalpel, size 5. The amorphous mass became the tool right in the hand. Marie started the dissection of tissues, noting the results to the record player and just letting the time fly by her. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Same DNA spirals, similar cell structures, metabolism cycles. The universe is not going to surprise me. Just like everyone else. Marie pushed aside the scanner with a sample from an avian species and put the datapad in her back pocket. Maybe I'll be better off drinking that bottle instead of this. No, I'm not that desperate. Yet, you silly cat. She laughed at her own joke. When the lights went off, she jumped panicked. The emergency light shone on the room a moment later, with Marie hitting her head and her body slamming into the ceiling right after. She instinctively covered her head, expecting to hit the floor. Instead, she kept falling still, her belly screamed with an ancient animal fear. Several minutes passed while she fought her panic and regained control of her senses. A little violence there, at least. Maria tried to flap her hands. It didn't help. Obviously, what kind of scientist I am? She took the datapad from her pocket. The screen went blank. Weird, but doesn't matter. She threw the item away from the ceiling. With a small impulse, it propelled the tiny woman towards the floor. With stumbling leaps from walls to the floor to the ceiling, she reached the emergency storage, acquiring a few bruises along the way. Repair tools. She wasn't sure how to use most of them, or even if she needed that plasma cutter in the corner. She decided against putting on the spacesuit. The emergency didn't seem to be that grave. Mag boots? She puts them on, finally regaining control. After a few minutes in the cockpit, Marie stared at the dashboard. Internal sensors screamed the irreversible death of a cold fusion core. Without it, no FTL, only thrusters. Just great. Right when I was in the middle of the jump. She punched the helpless display. She had no choice but to call for help. Computer, start the emergency broadcast, Marie said on the way to the autodock unit. The emergency power batteries were intact, which meant no threat to environmental systems, and she had nothing else to do. She was a biologist, not an engineer. She might as well just check her bruises, then sleep until help arrives. Her research project could wait until then. This accident concerned just her, one of a few perks of traveling alone. Halfway to the autodock, she stopped herself. Computer? The computer remained silent. Computer? Reply? Mary darted to the wall. She pressed a few buttons, opening the wall display. Blank. Maria rushed to the cockpit. Blank. She checked the sensors. The ship's computer received no energy. She sighed in dismay. Just dandy. She unsealed the wall panel and pushed a few buttons on the communication panel to start the transmission herself. How old school, she muttered, looking at the device. She selected subspace communication. No reaction. She tried several times to no avail. Her belly filled with the fear of becoming another stowaway in the bowels of the cosmos, and her knees weakened. After minutes of fighting herself, she regained stability. Her shaking palm hesitated before it tapped the backup radio unit. To all who can hear me, I am Marie Wenrose, a biologist from the Praxton Alpha 135 Research Center. My shuttle is drifting without engines. My computer is offline. It seems it was an internal failure. Please, send help. My coordinates... I don't know. I did a jump from Rimano 8580 to Magellania 9051. I will repeat this message every 24 hours on the emergency frequency. Marie knew that it takes several years at best for the radio signal to reach this closest settlement. Maybe a passing ship will catch it. Unlikely. I'm too far in the frontier. Only creatures like me are here. In her office, Maria looked outside the window. Would she become a cute white skeleton by the time the rescuers fished out her signal? Better than being found as a half-decomposed corpse? Maybe sending the emergency signal was a mistake. Her bitter whisper filled the quiet room. Maybe. Yet, she had to do something. Maria steeled her resolve. Tomorrow she'd check the subspace communication unit. Perhaps she could fix it. Tomorrow. The exhaustion caught up with Marie, and she slogged to the bedroom to finally take off the magpots. In her dream, she cried on the ground in the open field of green flowers before someone hugged her from behind. She woke up with the skin still feeling the touch. With a familiar disappointment, she got up and half asleep left the room. Marie couldn't look at the barren grey walls of what she had thought was her home. There was no place on the ship for her. How did 200 square meters of habitable space become so small? Her bedroom was a tight prison bunk. There was no escape in the hollow office without computer access. The kitchen with bright blue and green lights didn't offer the usual comfort, not even basic cutlery or plates. It was all nanobots. She passed the airlock in the corridor before she stopped, leaned on the starboard window, and gazed upon the vast emptiness of space. Marie found loneliness comforting when she had the choice to leave it. She'd ignored alternatives all 20 years of her adult life, but it had been her choice. Now, it was taken out of her hands, and her reward was the prospect of suffocating or starving alone. Not going to give up just yet. Her hand formed a fist. I may not escape, but that's okay. I'll do what I can. Marie kept looking at a couple of stars while her mind worked its unrelenting calculations. She must send the radio message again and see if she could make heads or tails out of the subspace unit. Then call breakfast from the storage containers. She should probably skip the shower. She couldn't work on the species catalog without the computer, so might as well do the inventory she'd always postponed. Maybe she could still do some research. Was the cryo still operating? A check on her tissue sample storage was in order then. She watched a couple of stars. Mary couldn't understand why, so she focused her gaze. Nothing changed. Mary shook her hand and went to the cockpit. The message was sent, and after half an hour, Mary decided that there was nothing physically wrong with the subspace unit. It just decided not to work. I'm not going to argue with it. Instead, she checked the cryo chamber. She tapped a few buttons on the biosafety cabinet. Not even a blink of LEDs. Her fears were confirmed. The cryo chamber was out of energy. The last months of her work weren't done. She imagined the smell inside the sealed sample boxes and the potential hazards of keeping them like this. My legacy died before me, and I buried it, said Marie when she pushed the button to jettison the last pieces of the spoiled material. Her eyes followed the disappearing debris long after she could physically see it. Marie lingered a bit longer to give one more look outside before closing the airlock. Don't these two stars a bit smaller? Before sleep, she reached inside the bunk to reveal her only whiskey bottle. She put up a heroic struggle, but in the end, she fell asleep only after half the bottle reached her stomach. After a dreamless sleep, she spent most of the morning catching the remaining half of perfectly good whiskey all over the cabin. We'll repeat this message every 24 hours on the emergency frequency, whispered Marie before putting down the mic. Despite the headache, she started the least favorite part of the job, the inventory check. Nanobot goo crumbled into dust. It was useless without the computer. The few remaining surgical tools were still in place and, after the connection to the auxiliary system, worked. She couldn't find a few of them. Probably left them on Rimano. A dozen empty boxes for the tissue sample storage. It wasn't less than it should have been. I certainly didn't care enough to count them properly. Whatever. When Marie was about to write down these results, it hit her, but she didn't have any writing material. She never liked using them, never had a need. She didn't bring any physical books either. I'm going to die of boredom first. She laughed, eating dinner with her bare hands and looking at the unmoving cosmos. How did she end up like this? Why did she oppose any thought of having an assistant at least? Why did she want to run away to the edge of the Milky Way? Why indeed, she sighed. She knew why. Two or three people in a small space together for months or even years. If she was lucky, she'd find soulmates. Marie was never lucky. Not with people she wasn't. A long chain of meaningless friends and shallow lovers she had left behind confirmed that. A friend usually betrays your trust the moment you turn away. A lover is only fun for 5 minutes and then he'll demand to open up your soul. The moment you relax and show weakness is the moment a disaster strikes. No, better to die alone than to grow up hating people around me. It was her gift to the world, a sacrifice of absence. Animals are better friends anyway. Two stars grew bigger. Marie put down her plate and approached the window. It wasn't stars, something between them. The closer she looked, the clearer the shape became, until she couldn't deny what she saw. Impossible! Marie massaged her eyes for a solid minute and looked again. The creature still floated outside. Her legs weakened. All her years as a biologist, she never saw or heard of organisms living in a vacuum. She was the first. And such a beautiful specimen too, a giant animal with a pair of eternally long wings, radiating shimmering light. Stars that tricked Marie before. It was too far to get a clear picture of its body. That didn't stop Marie from being laser focused on it. She said no words, made no sound or movement. She forgot about the dire situation. At this moment, only the creature occupied her mind. Marie couldn't remember when she fell asleep. She was on the green flower field again. She wandered around until a red butterfly sat on her shoulder. Hello, little thing, Marie said with a smile. The insect tried to talk a little but stumbled. Its leg was broken. Marie put her palm on and waited until the butterfly sat there. Who hurt you? Whispered Marie. The butterfly flew away, whispering something to the wind. Marie followed until she opened her eyes and woke up, floating in the middle of the cabin. A second to remember yesterday, and Maria already hugged the glass. The creature, her space butterfly, was there, close to the shuttle. The body was tiny compared to the spread of glorious, luminous wings. Body consists of 4, 5, 6, yes, 6, slightly misshapen spheres intersecting each other with no symmetry or logic behind it. I can't determine the exact size. At least several kilometers, my best guess. The surface is of a darkest shade of gray. The way the wing's light is reflected, I can conclude that the surface is not perfectly smooth, but akin to a planet like the Moon or Mars. The chemical composition of the body is impossible to determine without a scanner. Does each sphere have a different functionality or are they the same? One of the middle spheres is misshapen and has a huge dent. No visible orifices. I have several questions. Does the creature eat? How does it navigate through space? Are all its organs inside, protected by the shell? Or is the creature capable of changing its shape? Can it communicate? How many of them are there? Wings emit slightly green light. I have to use a shaded glass from the emergency spacesuit helmet. The wings seem not to be physical in nature, but a force field of some kind. Is it how the creature propels itself in the vacuum? Is the creature capable of FTL travel? Mary pushed the record button before remembering it was nothing more than a terminal to the ship's computer. All her narration was for naught. Silly cat. She turned back to the window. Her gaze caressed her creature, her butterfly. Yes, it was Marie's butterfly, hers and only hers. The next day, she again observed her butterfly. Why wouldn't she? A new discovery, a gift for a scientist. Not really, it's not the actual reason, is it? Marie shook her head. It is not, she exhaled, looking at the floor. Definitely it's not. I'm just so tired of being alone. The quiet company of the creature brought comfort to the mind. An angel came to soothe her soul in Marie's last moment. For her, it was enough. Marie floated near the window for another hour, letting her mind go adrift until she fell asleep again. She was in the same flower field. The butterfly flew around her ear. It whispered something in an unfamiliar tongue. The whisper calmed Marie. If only she could hug the butterfly without crushing it. She turned her head towards the butterfly. Can't have everything, can I? The whisper stopped and the butterfly made a circle in the air. Marie shrugged. How's your leg? Do you feel better? After several minutes in the air, the butterfly sat on a green flower and started limping. A tear appeared in the corner of Marie's eye. She touched it with her thumb and looked at the wet spot. Why? A distant memory pulsed through the horizon. The cry of her child self punctuated the realization. Marie jumped and woke up with a surprise. It took several seconds to remember where she was. What did I dream of? Can't concentrate. Damn. Doesn't matter, you silly cat. Huh. A silly cat, huh? How much time has passed since? Not long enough, I guess. She glanced at her butterfly. It remained unchanged. Please stay. For me. This day Marie sat at the window, said nothing. Just watched and imagined the miraculous bright future for of them traversing the universe together. She dreamed of exploring unknown planets, discovering other impossible forms of life, looking at supernova, hugging the butterfly's surface. She imagined telling her alien friends stories of her past, sharing all the embarrassing secrets she held. It would be nice, don't you think? There was no reply from the butterfly. None was needed. Next several nights, the dreams repeated, each time the butterfly's whispers getting louder, and at times almost discernible. The butterfly asked questions yet Marie did not understand them. She just smiled back. After waking up, doing a couple of physical exercises and eating, She spent the rest of the days in the company of the butterfly. There was no harm in talking with it, she decided. First, she reminisced about her past, but didn't dwell on it. After, she imagined what her butterfly wanted to do after Marie's death. Once, curiosity took the better of her, and she used shuttle thrusters to approach the creature. Its wings flickered 2 times before it got away further to keep the distance. Marie understood. It wasn't too different from how other people acted around her. Sorry for disappointing you, she said after returning to the window. She felt terrible for breaking the creature's trust like that. I'm not going to do it again. I. The chest tightened. She forced herself to breathe normally. Without looking outside, she went to her bunk and spent the rest of the day there. In the dream, the butterfly sat on her lips and whispered. Mary didn't know the words, but it made her feel better. When she woke up, she noticed a slight change in her butterfly. At first, she thought it was a problem with her eyes. She made a point of observing the butterfly's wings closely. After a week more, Mary couldn't deny the decrease in their luminosity. The body spheres remained the same, and yet Mary couldn't help but think about sickness. The tent! It must be this tent! Marie knew it was a wild guess, but she could not shake the muddy memories of her dreams. My butterfly, are you hurt? Stupid idea, even for a silly cat. A few minutes later, Marie swore that her butterfly's wings flickered once. It answered yes. For a moment, Marie smiled at their first proper conversation. If I don't do something, its light will dim and my butterfly will die. Marie forgot to take a breath. What can I do? Marie answered as an adult, an answer she always gave. She hid in the now empty cryo chamber. I could never do anything. She knew it was true. If I do something, it just crumbles to dust. It was also true. Why does everyone have any hopes for me? She cried in unison with her despair. The butterfly would die. Marie would die soon after. The silly cat died long time ago. Because of Marie. Too young to know how to do the medical intervention herself. Too shocked to call for adult help. Too prideful to observe that little child of guilt all these years. Too weak to still carry that remorse. It happens again. The silly cat. My butterfly. Please forgive me for my weakness. I just can't help you all. Why? Why do you all need my help? Cloud of tears, eyes full of lava rivers, stomach boiling pure pain, countless hours lost. No escape for Marie, but one step in the airlock without the spacesuit. She dies useless to the universe as she was at the moment of her birth. Only her butterfly would mourn Marie. Nobody must mourn my death. Marie, you don't stay the silly cat's memory like that. Marie shook her head. Silly cat will never forgive me if I make others suffer. Marie disabled the magbots. The memories of the first moments of the emergency hit her again. But her butterfly needed her. She let the fear of falling take over her mind. Being scared was better than being guilty. Marie knew that little wisdom. The adrenaline kick-started the thoughts anew. Marie returned to her days at an orbital university. During the exams, she impressed herself with her ideas. There is hope for you yet, you silly cat. Memories of past successes sprang a thought. Marie recalled all the distant echoes of her zero-gravity training and reproduced all the exercises inside she could remember. Slowly but surely, Marie overcame the soreness of her muscles. She continued the exercises the next day. She needed that elusive control over her body. Before going to sleep, Marie leaned to the starboard window. My butterfly. Just a little longer, okay? I'll help you, I promise. If I fail, I want you to know that I love you. I don't know anything about you, but still, really so much I adore about you. And you brought me comfort. There was no reaction. You don't need to say anything. I'll do everything in my power to fix and protect you. You must trust me. A flickering reply. A few more days of training gave her the confidence to finally put on the spacesuit, open the airlock, and take the first step. Mary grabbed the plasma cutter, just a half meters long. She hoped it had enough energy in it. Chose the tool without diagnostics. Why did I become so... Mary paused on her way to the cockpit, searching for the right words. So confident about what I need to do. She sat on the chair. She was never one to pass the shuttle manually, but she counted on her newly acquired understanding of zero gravity to feel the ship the same way she felt her body. Shuttle thrusters fired, and Marie clutched her breath, steering the shuttle towards her butterfly. Manual controls only, but were not something she ever wanted to touch in her life. Yet, I do. When the shuttle was close to her butterfly, Marie managed to stop the inertia completely. Did my butterfly match my position? Mattered not, since Marie was on her way to the airlock. She pressed the button, took a deep breath, and jumped. Marie aligned herself towards the dent and fired the spacesuit thrusters. Too fast! She realized a few moments too late. She pushed the reverse thrusters and braced for the impact. A spike in pain inside her left shoulder made her scream, but Marie still managed to grab onto something with another hand, a rock on the surface. She floated unmoving, listening to the pulsing soreness inside the shoulder. Did I break something there? She decided to take a short break and inspected the eroded rocky surface around her. It could have been a planet with aurora borealis. A beautiful place to live. Maria let go of the rock. Not a rock. Maybe it's hair. Not a hair. Vibrissa. Could be. Maybe Aurora and just want to be an organ. Not enough information to make conclusions. She glided towards the dent, trying not to get excited and name every little cavern of the surrounding rock desert as different parts of the body. She reached the edge of the dent crater and saw a tunnel, 200 or 300 meters deep. She aimed herself towards one of the walls, gave a small thrust, and then leapt from wall to wall towards the bottom. Only the flashlight in her helmet helped her navigate the goal. At the bottom, she found a shard. Half a meter wide, golden color, and almost round stone with no symmetry or structure, smooth, round edges, stuck into the skin of my butterfly, emits a weak, pulsing glow. I hope I have not encountered a new kind of radiation. She laughed while fixing the rope on one of the bigger cracks in the wall. The shard must be the source of my butterfly sickness. She activated the plasma cutter. Several attempts later, Mary gave up. The shard refused to be cut. After a pause, Mary caressed the butterfly's skin. Sorry, my butterfly, but I don't see another choice. Think of me as your surgeon, okay? After a deep breath, she impaled the cutter into the skin around the shard. No shakes, no reactions. It's not a regular animal, you silly cat. Doesn't feel like us. With renewed confidence, Marie started digging up the shard. It was increasingly hard to do so with just one hand. As much as she hated the idea, she had to use both. She put her left hand over the tool's handle, bit her lips, and made the first move. Pain blinded her mind. Marie persisted. She thought of all the joy the butterfly gifted her, about the hope she felt last week, hope that she wasn't alone in her journey. L'espoir fait vivre. Hope brings life. Marie forgot that lesson, and now she lived through it. Even if Marie couldn't feel her arm at all, for her it didn't matter. She helped someone she loved, and this brought her hope. An arm was a small price after all. Hours and hours passed until she pried it out of the animal's body, disappointed that there was no blood pouring under it. Her butterfly kept its mysteries. Mary touched her left arm. It couldn't move it at all. Mary touched her left arm and couldn't move it at all. Mary patted the butterfly's wound. It'll heal. Take rest. Doctor's orders. She laughed. Exhausted, all she could think about was her bunk. She checked the oxygen. There was barely enough for the trip back. I did it finally. The shard floated above the bottom. The glow still pulsed, albeit slower. Marie's heart fell. I can't keep the butterfly still suffering while I'm sleeping. The silly cat would never forgive me. She roped the dart to her stomach and used the remaining rope to stop her left arm from flailing. Hope the shard doesn't have too much mass. It had. Marie reasoned to use thrusters to get out the tunnel. Controlling them with just one hand was a struggle. She liked the precision from the before. The shard changed her center of mass to the point where it was hard to predict the trajectory after each impulse. The shard had enough mass to slow down the speed threefold. Marie sweated each meter of the journey out. With each thrust, the shard's glow decreased. Halfway, Marie allowed herself a breath of relief. She'd handled it well so far. The next second, her finger slipped, and she activated the thrusters. Moments later, she slumped into the wall, crushing what was left of the injured arm. She screamed bloody curses. It took her a quarter of an hour to calm down and continue. The rest of the journey to the shuttle took another hour of struggle. The shard went dark and got progressively smaller. She left the golden pebble at the airlock, flew into the corridor, took off the helmet, and immediately fell asleep, remaining afloat in the middle of the corridor. When Mary opened her eyes, she was lying on the floor. Hungry, she plodded towards the kitchen area and grabbed a ration. Then, a small piece fell down on the floor. She blinked 5 times. Then, 5 more. Computer? Yes, madam. Shut up! Maria was already on her way to the starboard. Her butterfly was there, shining brighter than ever. The computer dimmed the windows automatically. I did it. She wanted to cry but had no energy. Walking exhausted her. The weight of the left arm was killing the shoulder. Computer, reduce gravity to 0.5. No, 0.3 Gs. Much better. After a long rest, she visited the autodoc unit. It couldn't fix her injuries in full, and Marie cut the whole arm off. It did its duty. Marie entered the cockpit. The cold fusion core worked, but only at 3.85% output capacity. Not quite FTL, but better than nothing. I guess it's the end, she whispered and made a command. I promise I'm not going to harm you. Stars slightly warped. Marie went to the starboard. The butterfly followed the shuttle. Marie shook her hand. If you insist, I'll tell everything explicitly. You know I want to always be with you. Anything you ask of me, I want to do it. The thing is, even if you stay with me, I would never be sure if you're doing it out of a sense of obligation or guilt. Maybe because I saved your life. There'll always be the doubt in my mind whether or not you are doing it because you want to be with me. A small part of me will always expect one day you'll leave because I could never imagine seeing you yearning for my company the same way I desire you. I know that. Even when you leave, I'll be thinking of you. Why? When you'll be among your kind. Is there any? even we'll never see each other. Even in your darkest hour, even in your toughest ordeal, I want you to know there's always one person in this universe who's always by your side. Even, even if you don't want this silent support, even if you want me to forget about you, even if I'll never see you again, in my heart and with my deeds, I'll be on your side. I don't know if this knowledge will bring you strength, but I have to try. For you and maybe for my soul. I want you to fly away because this is what you want. This I'm sure of. Be free, my butterfly. Don't worry about me. Use your strength to reach the edge of the universe. Forget about me, if you must. Uh, I'll never hold this against you. You are not shackled to me because this was never a thing I wanted. My desire is to see you fly the way you want to. I am forever blessed to be the witness of your grace. Goodbye, my butterfly. The butterfly wings flickered one more time, and one more after a pause. 10 more times. It disappeared with a flash of light. The cold fusion reactor outputted 100% of the energy. Marie delayed the jump and went to sleep. In the middle of the field, she danced under the distant whispers of her butterfly and the echoes of mewing. Her child self laughed. The universe is always alive, and you see. The universe is always alive, Marie.